Dwayne Casey fired as the coach of the Toronto Raptors after a 59-win regular season, but the second consecutive season getting swept out of the playoffs by the Cavs. And the man who called that Game 4 finish between the Cavs and the Raptors joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show, the last game of Dwayne Casey's coaching tenure in Toronto, meaning the Grim Reaper of the NBA, Ian Eagle.
No.
Here on the Rich Eisen Show. Is that wrong? Should I do that again?
Nah, that's wrong. I need a completely different intro. I don't want that. Could catch on. What do I do then when I start popping up in NBA arenas? Like,
no, hold on a second.
Grim Reaper's here.
No, let's get it. Hold on a second, Ian. You know how I feel about you, okay? You know how I feel about you. So I'm just going to get this. I'm just going to get this right out of the way, off the top here, because I know you're not on Twitter. You don't have a Twitter account, correct?
No.
And you don't even go on. You don't even look, right? You don't use somebody else's account.
No, I'm a voyeur. No.
Oh. Okay. So do you have like a secret account that you go on and you don't tweet, but you go look?
I do.
Oh!
Wow. At Scorpion promos.
No, shocker.
At Scorpion promos would be great, Ian. That is great. So, because I gave you credit, man, when Cleveland was blowing, the Cavs were blowing them out, you said a clinic in Cleveland.
Pause.
Now,
for effect, in Cleveland.
Now, did you just say you called it a clinic and then you realized, oh, I'm in Cleveland? I mean, walk me through that, Ian. How'd you drop that?
Yeah, it's not going to be a very detailed explanation. I called it a clinic,
yes.
And then within 1 second, I realized I was in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, wait, that's going to work. I'm just going to say it. And then we went to break. So it was just very dramatic.
Yes.
Right to the point.
That is the broadcasting version of getting your checker to the back row and saying, king me. King me. That's what that is, Ian. King me when you get to that back row. Well done.
You talk about king me. It's LeBron James.
Oh,
king
what a great segue.
Hey.
That was fantastic. Sorry, go ahead. LeBron, I mean, seriously, up close and personal, sitting there. You have been calling action for quite some time. What in the world is it like, front row, seeing this with your own two eyes?
Yeah, I didn't think anything would match Jordan Mania, and I came into the league with the Nets when Jordan was playing baseball. So I just assumed when I got the net job, all right, I'm just never going to get to call any Michael Jordan NBA games, and tough luck for me. He comes back, he wins 3 titles. I ended up getting hired to do the NBA Finals for the World Feed for a number of those championships against Seattle, against Utah, and then again against Utah. So I had a good seat to watch Jordan win. I'm huge, by the way, in Indonesia. I don't know if you know that. I can't walk the streets without. Oh my God! Did you do the finals? Bulls? Yeah, I did. So I just figured that's it. That'll be the pinnacle. I'm not going to see anything like this again. I'm not going to experience anything like this again as a broadcaster. And here we are, all these years later. And I don't want to put it on the same plane because I know we're into comparisons. But the reality is LeBron James is doing something that I did not think I would see. Dominate the way that he does, and then control the game the way that he does. It's all the superlatives that you can think of every time he takes the floor. It's at that stage now where I really do feel like we're witnessing history, and he's doing it at 33, Rich, 15 years into an NBA career, where if you look at the rest of that draft class, guys are either retired or they're wrapping up their careers. And certainly their greatness is not at the level that it once was. And I'm talking about tremendous players like Bosh and Wade and Carmelo Anthony. So this shows where he is at, and the fact that he's still ascending at this age is really hard to fathom.
And obviously, it's just an easy storyline to say, well, he did it to the Raptors again, and et cetera, et cetera. But from what you saw, Game 1, Game 4, now that Dwayne Casey has lost his job off of all of this, what could the Raptors have done any differently except the proverbial play better? I mean, what's being pinned on Dwayne Casey right now that you saw with your own two eyes that could have been fixed, you think?
It can't just be what happened in this series. It has to be a little bit deeper. We're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes, but talking to people connected with the Raptors before the series started, a few people tossed out the idea to me that, Dwayne Casey could get fired. If they get embarrassed in this series, it could cost him his job. And my first thought, again, outsider's perspective, he's won 59 games, number one seed, home court advantage, could win Coach of the Year in the NBA. I thought maybe it was coming from people that are a little too close to the situation. And now I realize, no, it was real. There was legitimate angst around the franchise, around the city, and not just to lose to Cleveland as a number one seed, but to get dismantled the way that they did clearly was the final piece of the puzzle. There must have been some other things swirling. I have no idea if the DeRozan benching in Game 3, 14 minutes to end the fourth quarter, plays any role in this whatsoever. A lot of it is deeper, dynamic between star players and head coach, and whether or not management just feels like the message is now no longer going to be heard from this coaching staff, and they want to go in a different direction. It's very uncharacteristic to see a coach have this kind of season and get let go, but it goes deeper than that. It's 7 years into this tenure. I do think he gets another job. The hope would be he gets one on this turn because he deserves it. He's done an excellent job improving this team and managing this roster over a 7-year period.
Yeah, because, I was basically saying you can't fire the owner, DeMar DeRozan, or Drake. Those are the only three unfireable figures of Raptors basketball, essentially. And, if you wait till July 1 to see if LeBron removes himself from the Eastern Conference equation, then you're doing Dwayne Casey a disservice if there's a Bucks job and a Pistons job open. And any sense based on, your travels in basketball, which might be a better fit for Dwayne Casey? Ian?
Well, look, if I'm Dwayne Casey, Milwaukee is the job that I'm keying in on. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have a young roster. You're moving into a new building. I think this is a plum job. This is a job that many coaches covet, coaches that have very good resumes. But you've got to sit down with management and ownership and see if that's a good fit. Detroit right now is a little bit more of a crapshoot based on their salary cap issues and based on the fact that they're committed to certain players financially for an extended period of time. There's not going to be a whole lot of wiggle room with that current roster. Milwaukee is definitely the better job of the two. And as a quick aside, Rich, like me, you grew up dreaming of one day being in this industry. And I told my parents at a young age, I was 8 years old when I told them that I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. And both my parents were incredibly positive, and they both told me, then that's what you'll do in your life, which is really empowering and emboldening when you feel like it's something you can accomplish because your parents have told you that you can. So all these years go by, and they send me to Syracuse, and I take all these steps to get to a point in my career where I am doing play-by-play of Drake Kendrick Perkins beef. This is not what I predicted. This is not what my parents envisioned, but this is the reality of where we are in the world of sports today. Well, and I was proud to do it. Very proud.
Well, Ian, you never know what life prepares you for.
No, you don't.
But you handled it expertly. If you.
Oh, thanks.
What were they saying about it on Twitter, Ian?
Yeah, it caught fire. I was following along. If I remember correctly, at Raptor 742 was pissed at Kendrick Perkins. Yeah, he thought he stepped over the line.
That's that famed Kyle Lowry bot fan out there. Valanciunas' bot, I think, is what, by the way, great fantasy name. Chris, write that down, Valanciunas' bot for later on this fall. Okay, so what's your scoop? Now that the NBA and basketball season is done, do you actually get a break here in your career?
I have an assignment near and dear to your heart. I go to the French Open. I've been doing it the last 12 years for Tennis Channel. Wow. I have retained zero French over that 12-year period. Okay. I know how to order steak frites. That's the entire limit of my French. I'd say, entrecôte? Mm-hmm. They go, yeah, entrecôte. Yeah, I'll have that.
Okay.
the next assignment. I leave in a little less than 2 weeks. I'm there about 2 weeks, and then I shut it down.
You shut it
completely.
down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. So you got you wash off the clay, and then you go home.
Wash off the deep red clay that gets embedded into my shoes.
I know. Careful.
Yeah.
And again, I love bringing this up with you, Ian. You're one of those rare tennis broadcasters that has a soft spot for the people who are in charge of the tennis balls. The ball boys and ball girls, because you've been there, right, at the U.S. Open.
I've been in the trenches, as they say. Yes, I've done the job. I understand the job. I relate to the ball people.
See?
They're about my size, so we have that connection.
You never knew, Ian, that being cursed out by Jimmy Connors got you set for Drake Kendrick Perkins. You never were connecting dots. We're connecting dots.
And talking back to Jimmy, Rich, I talk back. I'm going to admit it. I was 14 years old. I was a punk. I was a hooligan, and I talked back to him, and that was not a good decision. I got berated by the ball boy director afterwards, and I thought it affected. I did not get the finals that year. I had to wait another year to get the championship match based on my tete-a-tete with Jimmy Connors. So that still sticks with me.
Don't sass Jimmy. So who was the seriously? So you were a ball boy for an actual U.S. Open final? You did that?
Oh, no, I was for the Tournament of Champions in Forest Hills.
Okay.
That was a May tournament that got all the big names. So it was Borg, it was McEnroe, it was Connors, it was Gerolaitis, it was Johan Creek, it was Jose Louis Clerc, it was Jimmy Arias. I can go on. They're all the big names.
I love it. Eli Nastase, was he there?
Oh, Nastase. I got Nastase late, very late in his career. I did not get into a back and forth with him. I was smart enough to avoid that.
Late Nastase is the worst Nastase.
Sure. Not the best Nastase.
Ian, I love our chats, man. Congrats on a great basketball season. Have fun at the French Open, and let's chat soon, okay?
You're the best, Rich.
You too. I'm gonna look for you on Twitter. I know you're out there.
You seek me out, bro. You try to find me. Not gonna happen.
That's Ian Eagle here.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.